Just friends. Chris Brander is that sweet but painfully awkward high school kid we all remember. Overweight, braces gleaming, hair doing its own thing. He's head over heels for Jamie Palomino, the gorgeous cheerleader who's actually kind enough to be his genuine friend. Most popular girls wouldn't give him the time of day, but Jamie's different. She sees past the surface, which makes Chris's feelings burn even deeper. On graduation night, Chris musters every ounce of courage to write his confession in Jamie's yearbook. His hands shake as he pours out everything: how he loves her, how he wants to be more than friends, how she means the world to him. He bikes to the graduation party, yearbook tucked safely away, ready to finally tell her the truth. But high school has other plans. Tim, Jamie's obnoxious ex-boyfriend and resident jerk, crashes the party like he owns the place. While Chris frantically searches for the perfect moment, Tim pulls the cruelest prank imaginable. He switches the yearbooks. Before Chris can stop him, Tim's reading that private, heartfelt confession to a crowd of laughing students. The humiliation cuts deeper than any physical pain. Chris watches his most vulnerable moment become entertainment for people who already see him as a joke. When he finally gets Jamie alone, hoping against hope that maybe she'll surprise him, she delivers the friendship death sentence, "I love you like a brother." Broken and furious, Chris makes a declaration that changes everything. Standing there with tears streaming down his face, he promises everyone watching that he'll leave this town, become wildly successful, and prove them all wrong. It's the kind of dramatic moment that either destroys you or transforms you completely. Fast forward 10 years to Los Angeles, where Chris has kept his word in spectacular fashion. The chubby, awkward teenager has vanished, replaced by a lean, confident record executive who treats relationships like business deals. He's got money, power, and a string of meaningless hookups that fill the void where real connection used to be. His boss, Casey, drops a Christmas assignment from hell: fly to Paris with Samantha James, a talentless pop diva whose ego outweighs her ability by about 1,000 pounds. Chris knows exactly how toxic she is. Their last encounter ended with him in the emergency room. But when your boss says jump, you ask how high. Samantha greets him like a predatory cat, immediately making him uncomfortable with her aggressive advances. She's the kind of person who thinks the world revolves around her, and unfortunately, in the music industry, she's often right. Chris endures her dramatics as they board a private jet to Paris, counting the hours until this nightmare assignment ends. Then, Samantha does something spectacularly stupid. She tries microwaving a foil-wrapped burrito on the plane. The resulting fire forces an emergency landing, and in a cosmic joke that would make Shakespeare weep, they touch down in New Jersey. Not just anywhere in New Jersey, practically in Chris's backyard, the town he swore he'd never see again. With the plane grounded for repairs, Chris has no choice but to bring his demanding client home to meet his parents. His mother, Carol, nearly faints from shock and joy when she sees her son after 10 years of absence. The reunion is everything you'd expect: tears, screaming, and enough maternal guilt to power a small city. Desperate to escape the house and his mother's overwhelming attention, Chris ventures into town with Samantha in tow. He runs into Clark and Darla, his old friends who've settled into married suburban bliss. They're genuinely happy to see him, but their simple contentment feels alien to someone who's spent a decade chasing success in Los Angeles. Then he spots her. Jamie Palomino, still beautiful, still working at the local bar, still capable of making his heart skip beats like a broken record. She tries to duck behind the counter when she sees him, but there's no hiding from destiny. Their reunion is awkward, sweet, and charged with a decade's worth of unresolved feelings. Chris can't help himself. He asks her out, lying about his flight being delayed to buy more time. She agrees, and suddenly he's got a new problem: what to do with Samantha while he tries to win back the love of his life. Being the smooth operator he's become, Chris plays to Samantha's massive ego. He convinces her that his small hometown is filled with adoring fans dying to meet her. A mall appearance, he suggests, would make their entire year. Samantha, never one to turn down worship, agrees to the solo appearance while Chris handles his business. The date with Jamie unfolds like a beautiful dream, wrapped in nostalgia. They go to their old hangout spot, sharing stories and laughter that transport them back to simpler times. For a few hours, Chris forgets about Los Angeles, success, and everything that's supposed to matter. He's just a guy talking to the girl he's always loved. But old habits die hard, and Chris's confidence betrays him. When he leans in for what he hopes will be a romantic kiss, Jamie gives him a friendly hug instead. The friend zone strikes again, as brutal and effective as ever. Chris has an emotional breakdown in his car, complete with self-recrimination and dramatic gesturing. Jamie comes back for her forgotten gloves and witnesses the entire meltdown, leaving both of them mortified. At Clark's dental office, Chris gets the harsh truth. He's picked up exactly where he left off a decade ago. All his success, all his transformation, and he's still the same lovesick teenager getting friend-zoned by Jamie Palomino. It's enough to make anyone question their life choices. Meanwhile, Samantha's mall appearance goes about as well as you'd expect. She's either genuinely hurt or faking a concussion, and Chris comes home to find her acting like a deranged child, while his teenage brother Mike provides questionable supervision. The whole situation is spiraling into chaos. Chris tries again with Jamie, suggesting ice skating like old times. She agrees, touched by the nostalgic gesture, but Chris's Los Angeles lifestyle hasn't prepared him for actual physical activity. He's clumsy on the ice, embarrassing himself in front of Jamie's young students who invited him to play hockey. When the kids start mocking his terrible skating, something snaps inside Chris. His competitive corporate instincts kick in, and he transforms from lovable loser into aggressive jerk, getting way too intense about a casual game with children. The inevitable happens. He gets injured and ends up in an ambulance, unable to speak through his oxygen mask, while Dusty, his old rival, swoops in to comfort Jamie. At the hospital, Clark provides both dental work and brutal honesty. He points out that Jamie doesn't date nice guys. She wants someone sensitive, more like the old Chris. The irony is devastating. Chris transformed himself into exactly the wrong kind of person to win Jamie's heart. Christmas Eve brings the final showdown. Chris convinces Samantha to do another performance, desperate to clear the field for one last shot with Jamie. But Dusty beats him there again, showing up with flowers and that same annoying earnestness that made him insufferable in high school. The evening becomes a nightmare dinner party from hell. Chris feels like an outsider in his own hometown, watching Dusty charm his mother and monopolize Jamie's attention. When Dusty finally leaves for his hospital volunteer shift, Chris gets his moment alone with Jamie. They connect like they always have, watching old home videos and sharing memories that prove their friendship was real and deep. For a brief, shining moment, it feels like Chris might actually win her heart this time. He tells Mike to keep Samantha busy at all costs while he makes his move, but Mike leaves the car windows open, and Chris arrives at Jamie's house on a bicycle through the snow, looking like a frozen disaster. Dusty's already there, center stage again, performing that same terrible song he wrote about Jamie in high school. The moment should be ridiculous, but Jamie seems genuinely moved. That's when Samantha loses her mind completely. She drives straight through Jamie's yard, destroying Christmas decorations and turning the peaceful evening into a war zone. Her jealous rage explodes as she confronts the bitch Chris has been banging behind her back, creating the most humiliating scene possible. Later that night, Jamie shows up at Chris's door. Instead of anger, she brings understanding. They talk through the night like they used to, and Chris finally feels like he might have a real chance with her. She admits she's ready to settle down, start a family, find something real, but Chris's transformation runs deeper than his appearance. When Jamie softly reveals her feelings, he panics. The old Chris would have been overjoyed, but the new Chris thinks about logistics. Where would they live? How would it work? What about his career? He's become exactly the kind of person who overthinks love instead of embracing it. The next day brings competing advice from friends. Jamie tells Darla she has real feelings for Chris, while Clark warns Chris that his timing is all wrong. The final confrontation happens at Jamie's bar, where Chris shows up drunk and desperate. When Jamie gently turns Dusty down, Chris explodes with a decade of frustration. blaming her for keeping him in the friend zone and accusing her of peaking in high school. It's cruel and unfair, but it's also honest in the worst possible way. Jamie fires back with equal fury, pointing out that Chris never actually made a real move when it mattered. She's tired of being blamed for his inability to communicate his feelings clearly. The argument reveals the truth both of them have been avoiding. They've been dancing around each other for 15 years, without ever being completely honest. Samantha tries one last time to seduce Chris, but he finally sees her for what she is, a beautiful distraction from the only thing that actually matters. He turns her down and realizes his Los Angeles life is as empty as his teenage years were lonely. In the end, Chris makes the choice that should have been obvious all along. He flies back to New Jersey one more time, finds Jamie, and tells her the simple truth without games or complications. He's always loved her. She feels the same way. They share the kiss that's been waiting 15 years to happen, while young hockey players look on in disgust, proving that some things never change. The friend zone finally claims its last victim, itself. Thanks for watching till the end. Your support keeps us going and helps us bring more awesome stories to life. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and stay tuned for the next movie on Addict Recap.